today. I can't imagine my price today. Niggas been thinking for eyes today. Never been thinking about price today. Life seasonally, I cannot think about scrutiny. I make my family my business. I'm a brand of my business. Life seasonally, I cannot think about scrutiny. I make my family my business. I'm a brand of my business. I don't smoke.
Hey, Banna. You're not even listening to Muhawu.
It's fine. Yeah. Oh, okay. Siban cool. Jamini Mongez. I welcome you officially on the Live Seasons TV. We thank you for your presence, and it's of great honor. Because if I can take you back where I started these things, I started in 2021. That's my first time seeing you. I think we were in town.
Yeah.
By then, the current president general was a chairperson of Soshanguve at that time. So I don't know which position were you occupying there during the time?
During the time in 2021. Oh, firstly, I'd like to thank the opportunity also myself. In 2021, I was serving as the branch secretary. It was actually my first responsibility in the organization.
Because you speak about form, you've been a former to a lot of things. Mobilization at home, a convener, and you were also a former speaker of parliament as well. Yeah. Currently, you're now a chairperson.
Yeah, currently, yeah.
Why politics? Even someone can ask, why politics?
Well, truly, speaking about it, the reason why politics is because I myself recognize the need that there should be some sense of an organization or a sector that protects the rights of black people in majority that are from South Africa. Because from the economic formation of South Africa, it doesn't really cater for the black and marginalized group in South Africa. And as people that have previously experienced apartheid, I just individually felt like we should stand up and do more for our freedom.
Most of the people, politics are personal. So they come up from disadvantaged backgrounds, marginalized groups, you know. So maybe has it touched you personally?
Obviously, it will have a personal touch because not only did the apartheid system leave trauma to our parents, but it also left psychological colonization. I come from a family where for most of the times there was no one that could find a job and people were qualified in the family. So all of those dynamics and sentimentals made me realize that there should be more young people, at least making sure that the voice of the voiceless is heard.
No, that's great stuff. But congratulations as well to one of your former chairperson is now part of the provincial legislature, which is Franz Ngombeni.
Yeah.
You're moving here in Haranguane.
Yeah. I mean, Chairman Franz has been an inspiration and a true leader to all of us. And I feel like no one else absolutely deserves it more than him.
More than him.
Yeah, no one is entitled to position in the EFF, but his work and his determination has proved in the entire province that he's one of the best that Harangu has ever produced.
Speaking about EFF, we're coming back from the elections on the 29th of May, and disappointing measures and numbers for the EFF because it has dropped to 9%. How does that maybe allow you or make you feel in terms of your objectives being met or goals? Hence, we want free decolonized education.
Yes, it's true. The results were very shocking and hurting. At first, it was a very hard pill to swallow. But at times, we had to get on with the times and understand the dynamics of the entire national political diaspora. Obviously, us not reaching what we initially wanted to reach will mean that we will have less responsibilities and privileges to fight for black people in South Africa. But then as they defined it by forming the GNU and excluding the EFF and MK. So it means that the black people in South Africa have no views and no voice to represent themselves. Because when you take a look at the formation of the GNU, I'm going to talk about the major role players, which is the ANC and the DA.
Sure.
The ANC has been in power for 30 years and it has failed to address black people issues. And then you have the DA, which is a completely liberal organization, which doesn't even believe in addressing issues of black people. So that diaspora actually shows you that the political system in South Africa is under the establishment. And obviously the establishment will never allow the EFF.
So you mean to say the coalition will fail?
The coalition will definitely fail because
but we see the coalition as they seems to be working. Like Bokenting McKenzie, we see the Minister of Correctional Service is also working. So my question is, if the GNU works, will we need the MK and the ANC and then the EFF?
I stand on a confident belief that the GNU will never work. I mean, okay, you are speaking about Gaten McKenzie, the work that he's been doing, the Minister of Correctional Services. Yes, we do not undermine the work they've done. It's a responsibility of governance ministers to deliver work. But we need to have more conversations of ministers directly tackling issues that are affecting black people, in particular, unemployment, the economy, the whole inequality that is happening in South Africa. Yes, it's good that we are doing good in sports and making sure that everyone participates, making sure that there's no corruption in prisons, so forth. Yes, it's good, but we need to start addressing issues of black people, because black people have been excluded from the economy even through 1994 when we received political freedom. So I stand on a firmly and confident belief that the GNU will never represent the issues of black people. Whether it will work or not, it will depend on how you look at it. When you look at it in the side of a liberal, it will always work because it will always serve the benefits of the establishment. But when you look at it in the side of black young people who do not have jobs, who have to pay for student fees, who are unemployed, who have babies, who are suffering, their parents are also not working, it will never serve the interest of those people, which is the people that this government is supposed to directly deal with, dealing issues of them.
Because now I'm a bit skeptical also about the GNU, because even though the ANC has its own socialist policies, such as the NHI, the state bank capacity, and the healthcare as well, whereas we look at the DA, it doesn't have those socialist policies. They only have the privatization of everything, and most of the touching policies that they want to preamble is the one of NSFAS becoming a loan. What do you take of that?
Yes, it was a shocking move for the ANC to actually work with the DA because of the difference in policies. But it wasn't really shocking because we've acknowledged that the ANC has had these policies, but they had failed to implement any of them for so long. So it means that it wasn't in their intention to directly focus on those issues. So now when we talk about that one of NSFAS, it is a huge calling, especially for the young people of South Africa who are students. To say that the emerging of GNU will mean that the young people will have to formally make a very proper decision in institutions of higher learning on who's leading them. With the GNU in governance and what the DA is proposing to do with NSFAS, the students of South Africa at large needs the Economic Freedom Fighter Student Command to represent them in institutions of higher learning. Because if that doesn't happen, then it allows the penetration of these liberals to also enter the sector of the students. The EFF Student Command has been in so many years, been the defender of the students for so long from this establishment and from people who want to pounce from student fees. So for us to maintain that, we need the students of South Africa realizing that we do not have to make the same mistakes our parents did. We should not make the same mistake of not valuing our votes. Even on campus SRC level, value your votes, because what you do during voting gives you what happens to you in the next 5 years in terms of campus in the next academic year. So with the emerging of policies like that of DA, with student command being so strong in the institutions, the student command will never allow such a thing to happen.
So do you do that through Sizofunda Ngenkani campaigns?
We do that through Sizofunda Ngenkani campaign, through radical engagement, through defiance, because something that we do not understand, we won't agree to, because it affects us. So it cannot be that a certain policy of the DA, which looks right on them, must be implemented by us when it directly affects us. So there must be nothing for students without students. If ever that policy has to be passed for some ever reason, then we need maximum students being involved in the decision making of that particular decision.
So do you Are you against Izaka as well?
Totally against Izaka. I think we've explained our stance on Izaka from last year. We understand that Izaka is just a wing of the establishment, specifically the ANC, to loot money to fund their own organization. It doesn't make sense. We even did the numbers last year. We spoke to students. It doesn't make sense because when we track back and we look back, the number of student fees that was going missing in Izaka, when we had projected it to calculate it for the entire term, it even reached 6-point-something million, which was unaccounted for. So, which shows that it's a direct scheme, which is definitely not working because it has proved more than once that it cannot sustain itself. Lot alone distributes student allowances. Izaka cannot sustain itself. It cannot distribute student allowances 3 times in a row without any flaws. So it shows that it's just a query of the establishment to try and pounce on student fees and to also try and intimidate and invalidate the lives of young students who are in South Africa.
If I can take you back, we spoke about GNU. When we speak about GNU, the CIC Commander-in-Chief also wanted to join the GNU last minute in the 11th hour. So now when we say we are against the GNU, what if the EFF has also joined the GNU?
The reason why the Economic Freedom Fighters, not even CIC, did not join GNU, the Economic Freedom Fighters as collectively did not join the GNU is because the ANC did not agree with our policies. The EFF did not just say we want to join the GNU. The EFF gave ANC prepositions, which we want to work with you based on this. And those prepositions were purely into fighting issues of the previously disadvantaged people, which are the black people, the majority of people in South Africa, which are getting minimum from the economy of South Africa. So the ANC clearly declined that offer. It wasn't something surprising because for 30 years the ANC has been declining offers of tackling black issues. So it means that they are protecting someone else and not the black, which makes them and the DA similar to one puppet, to one master, and they are both puppets. So that is why the EFF failed to join the GNU, not because we just wanted to parachute and lead, because the ANC couldn't fulfill the prepositions that we gave for them, so us to serve the previously disadvantaged people of South Africa.
There is an African proverb that says, "Inkunzi sematholeni," the hero or the hero-ness is in the young ones. When I was watching the speech of Naledi Chirwa, where she spoke about to be young is to be on the stage of becoming. What do you make of that speech?
Very powerful speech. I feel like it's a speech that came in a very good time as well, because I feel like the emergence of GNU is going to affect young people than anyone else. So having young people who are politically ideologically like that is going to help us into conscientizing more younger people into understanding what is actually happening in the economic and political diaspora of South Africa. Because one of the things that we have a challenge with is young people not understanding exactly what is to be fought for. There's young people in institutions of higher learning that are receiving NSFAS and have free education. They don't understand what do we actually mean when we say free quality decolonized education. So having more young people who are appealing to young people who can deliver such messages as Naledi does. She's always been a stalwart of the EFF Student Command. Now she's being a very valuable asset to the Economic Freedom Fighter. She's appealing to the youth. It is a statue that we need to take as the people of South Africa to trust the younger generation more, because they are affected more than the older ones. You know, even when you are having a conversation about certain things with the older ones, they even tell you when we were here, things were not even like this. We had things better, money was savable, all of those things. So it goes to say that these older people that have been here before for a long time, that understand better situations, and that are the majority in the electorate, by the way, who are voting the most, do not really understand the issues that we are facing as young black people, because we are worried about our own future. We are worried whether we are ever going to find economic freedom. We are worried whether we are going to be poor forever. Are we ever going to own land? Are we ever going to own our own cars at a young age and not be able to work for a certain white person and pay for a car and a house for 25 years only for you to have it when you retired? It's not the life that we desire. We want economic freedom and we want it now. And the only way we can usher economic freedom is putting young people like Naledi Chirwa on the verge and on the spotlights of conscientizing these other young people, because we need young people involved in the political space. This is why the electorate, the governance is failing to directly address students' issues and young people issues. It's because young people are not really involved in the political diaspora. In fact, it's the EFF that ensures that young people even go to the top positions of politics where they can even advocate for issues of young people. I mean, you look at Naledi Chirwa, she's in National Assembly. Whatever she says, we relate to it.
Sure.
So our votes as the EFF, people that voted for the EFF, we see that they do not go to waste, other than an organization that I would vote for, and then it gives a certain 70-year-old man a portfolio that is supposed to directly deal with issues that affect young people. It's not practical.
One of the fundamental things that a lot of politicians do, and which it switches a lot of people off, of which some who are more equipped into politics, they go around promising them heavens and earth. We promise you jobs. For example, Cyril Ramaphosa promised 275,000 jobs per year.
True.
Then recently, he promised 2 million job opportunities for the youth. And since Ramaphosa has came into power, he also found the unemployment rate was 43%. So after and before, I mean not after and during his presidency, he is now making the youth employment to be 45%. And when you find out the very same thing that the CIC Commander-in-Chief is doing, he goes around promises people 1 million jobs. So I want to know, how do they calculate these are the preambles or these are the paramount jobs that every citizen will get, and who qualifies for them? Which criteria do they use?
Okay, firstly, I'd like to outline that it's completely delusional that there's people that voted for Ramaphosa because he promised 2 million jobs. Because we are speaking about the very same president who was not afraid to come back and tell the entire nation that it's not the job of the government to create jobs. It's not the duty of the government to create jobs. And we are talking about the very same president that has promised jobs from 2019, that has promised houses from 2019, but had failed to deliver. Now, coming on to the issue of the EFF outlining the issue of job creation, when you look at the stance of the EFF, firstly, let's analyze the cardinal pillars of the EFF. First, we talk about land expropriation without compensation. What is to be done with that land? There's a certain interview of Floyd Shivambu where he elaborates it even further to say that this land will not only be used for people to stay, but it will also be used for people to start farming, for young people to be given land so that they could start their businesses. Let's go to industrialization of strategic sectors like banks, mines. When you nationalize those strategic sectors, they come back to the states, which means now the state has full control over them. The state can, in that privilege, create more jobs for people and give people a better wage and salary. So that is how the EFF is looking at it. The implementation of the 7 cardinal pillars automatically means that the economy is serving the black people. That is why those 7 cardinal pillars are there. Because the EFF understands that the people that are not benefiting from the economy are the very same people that belong in this country, the very same people that own these banks, that own these mines, that own this land, that deserve this quality healthcare, that deserve this free decolonized education. So when you analyze those 7 cardinal pillars, you will see that they are not just a phrase that we put there, but they are an implementation that automatically will start serving the interest of young and old black people who were previously disadvantaged.
Speaking about Flow Shiva, when I first saw it, I used to think, you are related with it. Maybe I'm related, I don't know.
No, we're not related. No,
so you look alike with him.
I doubt, my brother. I doubt that's the
Well, you spoke about serving. The young people of this generation trusted and entrusted the EFF-SC in all 26 campuses, but eventually you were able to get 18 campuses out of all 26 to let us see the EFF-SC shining, and let's see, would it shine for us or for themselves? So when you go around in campuses, you find students basically complaining because when there were campaigns of the EFF-SC, they used to say registration will be free. When you found out on campuses, students were registering in their own capacity of what if you own 10%, then you have to pay that 10%. What do you make of that?
Well, obviously, I cannot speak about the other institutions because I do not have formidable direct intel of what is happening on other institutions. But obviously in TUT, it is something that we hugely push. In fact, it is one of our principles and policies to fight for free education. Yeah. So free registration is part and parcel of free education. To say that allow everyone that qualifies to study, even if they don't have that money to pay registration. It is a very valuable stance that we always urge to push. Even this year, it's something that we are going to push. The only thing that limits us into ensuring that policies and processes like this are implemented is the issue of not having 51% total control over the institution. Because what happens in TUT, we use a different system from other universities. You know, other universities, you can contest and the winner of elections just takes every seat. But with TUT, there's constituting, which means now, in order for you, as the EFF, in order for us to implement something in the institution, will need to be 51%, which means more than quorum, which makes that we can make that decision without the inclusion of SASC, without the inclusion of SCO. So it is something that we are still going to push in TUT, and that is why we are still asking for students to give EFF Student Command total majority. Because other than speaking the issue of registration, let's be practical. The EFF Student Command is the only organization in institutions of higher learning that is always ready to fight anything that disturbs the academics of black students. The EFF Student Command is radical, is not afraid. It can show up. This is the type of leadership you need in order to serve the right issues of students. So besides that, overall, when we are talking about Ga-Rankuwa campus, I'm going to talk about Ga-Rankuwa campus because I'm the chairman here. If you look at the job of the work that we've done ever since February, the EFF Student Command in Ga-Rankuwa campus was able to take a formidable decision to go and more a guerrilla visit at Blue Sky Lodge, a residence where students were not receiving sufficient quality accommodation, a residence where an owner was using the power to abuse certain students. Even in those circumstances, the EFF, we never backtracked, we were never afraid. We went there without any protection. We fought for the students. Those that wanted to leave, they left. So it shows the character that we have as an organization.
What was the issue there?
The issue that we had there was that certain students were not happy with the quality that they were receiving in the rest. And then they wanted to leave, but the rest wasn't allowing them. And according to the contract, if ever, it's just pure contract agreement resolutions. To say that if ever you give me a contract and you are a resident, and in the contract you specify that during my stay, I'm going to pay this money and I'm going to receive free 24/7 Wi-Fi. I'm going to receive sufficient transport, hot water and electricity. Once I don't receive some of the things that you promised to give me in the contract, I am allowed to leave the agreement because it's a breach of contract from your side. We are failing to give us what we have agreed on. So the student has full rights to move and go to a certain accommodation which can directly serve their issues and their desires. You understand?
Yeah, I understand.
So the management there did not want to let the student go. to the point that there was even a situation where there was altercation between a student and the rest owner. The student command took it affordably for themselves to go there and to pick heads outside the gates of the residence. The management showed us arrogance upon arrival. We were threatened, we were intimidated, but we never gave in. We never gave in. We kept on the fight. We achieved what we wanted, and the student went out. We never even had a hand on where the students were going after they dispersed from the rest. They decided to go wherever they wanted to go. So even today, as the chairman and other former leaders, we are attending a case because of that thing, because the rest owner actually went to open a case for us and said that we tried to intimidate them to take the students. So it's those kind of things to say that the economic freedom fighters are not scared, especially in Ga-Rankuwa campus. We are ready to tackle any other issue that is there for students. I mean, we are not just speaking, we can show it. You know, there's a time during SRC elections manifesto last year. The manifesto of SASCO, which was then addressed by the now campus secretary, in record, he's my fellow, he's my force, is very good, but he knows. In record, the manifesto of SASCO last year said Thabong Lodge is not capable to carry students. In record, that is what SASCO had to say, had to tell students in the manifesto of last year. Today, the EFF Student Command fought Thabong Lodge from February. Today in Thabong Lodge, there were students that were not staying in comfortable positions. There were students that were sharing one stove and they were about more than 30. And when we fought, we never got the much assistance. In fact, when we tried fighting, certain people in the management would redirect us and tell us that we need to address these issues via the SRC. But which SRC? Because we don't have. The very same SRC that after elections, the president, the secretary, the SSS went to the very same rest and had liquor and had enjoyment and were in events there. And then now, because you've had interrelations with people of the rest, and maybe you received some liquor or they made you stay in VIP, you are failing to fight for student issues. When in your own manifesto, you said that rest is not, he said in the fellow said in the video, you can even go to the video now. He said Thabong Lodge, that rest must be closed.
So now he's against what he said.
Now he's not doing anything about it. When we write about it as the EFF, they tell us to go back to the SSS.
So have you ever went to the SSS?
We've tried. In fact, the issue of Thabong Lodge, we sent the email to the SRC first. We CC'd the SRC together with the management of the rest. The SRC literally watched us in emails, tackling each other with the rest owner and never had any interference whatsoever. So it goes to say that one of the most problematic things we have currently is an SRC that doesn't serve student issues. And the only issue of why that is happening is because it's an SRC that is not led by the EFF Student Command. It's an SRC that is led by SCO, is presiding over the campus. SASCO is the secretary. PASMA is the SSS, is in charge of accommodation and all of those things. You have Action AC, which is ETO, and you have SADESMA, which is trash. They are 5. They are governing the campus. They are signatories. They form parts. They hold offices that are operational, offices that are supposed to be serving students. But nothing is happening. Why? Because we have leaders who proclaim themselves to be revolutionaries because there is something that they want. And when they get into that position, there's nothing that they advocate for students. When you take at the sitting president in Ga-Rankuwa right now, is from SCO. When we were engaging with the Student Christian Organization last year, and they told us that they wanted president, their reasoning was that they want to grow their organization and that the organization is falling apart. But right now, SCO has been presiding from last year in October. When you go out, you won't even see an SCO gazebo outside. You won't even find SCO cadres anywhere.
So you mean to say the SRC never won any battle.
The SRC never even engaged on any battle because it's an SRC that is not led by the EFF Student Command. In fact, the EFF Student Command engaged in more battles than the SRC. We have students who are doing first year who do not know the real reason why there's an SRC in campus. They do not understand.
So speaking about you going to court facing the charges, do you have an assistant in the upper hand in terms of it winning, like you guys winning?
Yeah, of course. For now, we've become cooperative with the police. It doesn't seem like a strong case because at the end of the day, we are the ones that were intimidated there. And we are not scared. We will always cooperate with the police because we are not guilty of anything unless if fighting for student issues is a crime. So we are not scared. We can even tackle this one on our own because we are revolutionaries. And we know we did nothing wrong except to fight for real student issues. So in fact, we are not shaken by those things. We are very adamant.
So when we look at the spec of what's happening recently now in campuses, more especially in TUT, there's a launch, you go around, there's a launch, we're launching a branch. So for a person who doesn't know, what transpires when you launch a branch and why do you guys launch a branch? Why don't you go from January to the next year with the same with the same leaders that you have, so that you won't be having issues in starting this one, enters this one, start another one. So there's the reason why maybe you find this one wins more than this one. So what is this launch thing?
The BSA, in the EFF we call it the BSA. Firstly, before you understand the BSA, you must understand that campus politics are transitional. They go with time. So whoever is here this year, you're not guaranteed that they will be there next year. So the reason why it's done yearly is to mainly accommodate that transitional reasons. And also because of ensuring that there's enough accountability and there's new people entering and there's no abuse of power that is happening anyway. So a BSA, a leadership of the EFF, which is elected in the BSA, only serves for 1 year. So a BSA is whereby all members of the EFF Student Command who signed and paid their membership come together and elect a leader that they want through vote of hands. And whoever wins by vote of hands becomes the leadership of the EFF, and whoever doesn't win is obliged to follow the commandments of the leadership of the EFF because they are elected.
So is there a criteria there that is used? Maybe this one qualifies, or just like how it's happening in universities, section 2,
No, there's actually no criteria that is used because
just capable members.
Yeah, just capable members. As long as you are a resolute member that signed membership, you can contest for any position, but obviously contestation comes with many things. And engagement, there's engagement. And also we want to emphasize to the young leaders that it's very important for them to analyze themselves before contesting any other positions, because another thing that it makes student politics to decrease this much and to not have much activism as it used to have before is because we have people who come here and perceive themselves as leaders. But when they get to a certain position, they fail to deliver a certain obligation of their own office. So it goes to say we must never, in the EFF specifically, give each other positions because of friendships. It must never happen. When someone says they want to chair the branch, even if they are a friend, we must be able to analyze them and tell them, you can't speak in front of people. How can you chair the branch? Those are systematically things that will help us bring back the activism. Not everyone is going to lead. Not everyone is going to be the forefront. And it doesn't mean you do not add any value to the movement. In fact, the most progressive forces lead from outside the positions, because the positions, they kind of restrict you that you are only dealing with a certain office. So I always believe that the most progressive forces lead outside the positions. So that is why we are saying analyzation of forces, analyzing yourself. What does the EFF need? How do I fit in? How can I take this thing further than the previous person? Because the main aim is to keep on increasing the bar. So there's a lot of things that you actually ought to think about for you to lead, because we've ought to protect this revolution. This revolution must always make sure that the main thing becomes the main thing. And the main thing is fighting for student issues. So once we allow people that do not understand what is the main thing and that do not understand how to orchestrate their positions perfectly for us to achieve the goal that we want, then it means that they are counter-revolutionaries.
The reason why I was asking the criteria is because in my analysis, I used to see that the male gender occupies those strategic positions such as chairperson, secretary. Then the rest, they are being compromised to the women. Of which my next question is, how does EFFSC encompasses takes inequalities and equality? Why we have never had a president who's a woman. We've never had a secretary general who's a woman. We only had them as deputies, or as additional members.
Yeah, that is true. Specifically, I feel like that thing is happening within branches. Because in governance, I feel like the EFF Student Command does deploy women. In fact, we are the only organization that ensures that in every deployment there's a woman. So, but in branches, that's where the problem comes. And what I was actually speaking, we had a meeting with forces of the campus, and I was highlighting this issue to say that we need more women participating into politics. Politics is not a place for men to conquer women. It's not a bedroom. It's not a place for women to be conquered by men. But at the same time, we need women challenging men, the very same way men are challenging each other.
Such as the woman does.
Yeah, such as the woman does. We need a woman that will argue in police, argue political. We need a woman that will be radical, a woman that will be on the ground. You understand? We don't want to give someone a strategic position just because they are a woman. You need to be a capable force. It goes back to what I said, analyzation of yourself. You need women in political structures need to go out of their comfort zone and challenge the men. Because the politics, there's no way where it's written that politics is a game of men. In fact, there's more infiltration now of women than ever before. So we are pleading with even the young women that are in campuses. We want them to be more political. We want them to engage more in political conversations. We want them addressing masses, working the ground tirelessly. We want them doing exactly what Naledi Chirwa did. We want them doing exactly what the current TG of Student Command, Amanda Ntombela, has been doing ever since we've known her, because she's been a ground force, she's been leading, she's been highly active, and she's been even engaging political. So that's what we are asking for. As long as there's women that are doing exactly that, then there's no way that they cannot emerge. In fact, I believe that the EFF Student Command can be capable to deploy a female president this year if given a chance. Because we do have those few women that have now come to just with the fact that this is not a men's game. We want to take this upon ourselves, and we can challenge, we can fight for issues as much as men can. And when you look at the history of women in the revolution, it's very good. Most of the times, women were the ones that had the courage to fight first before men. When you look at Sharpeville, it's women that said, no, enough is enough. We are fighting. So women have that courage to lead. They are just not, they are in their comfort zones. I'm talking about the ones in institutions of higher learning. They are in their comfort zones because they are being bulldozed by these men. It's a time for them, it's time for a woman now to come out on top and boldly say, I'm contesting Mongezi Dlamini. And contest me in police, in politics, in political engagement, in capacity. And do not say, I'm contesting Mongezi, and the only thing that you can say is that, please vote for me because I'm a woman, and the men have been in charge. that is not the leadership that we want. We are not against women leading and being in the forefront. We want women politically engaging. We want to put women that we know when they are there, we don't even need to be scared. We know that they will deliver economic emancipation to young.
And also, when you look at the EFF constitution, it says more women than men.
Yeah,
it's 60-40. If there are positions for SRC, maybe 4 positions.
Yeah.
We give more women 3 positions, then maybe it can be a male. So how do you welcome women? What have you done in terms of branch level that you go out, let's seek for a prominent and progressive women?
The first thing that we did this year, because upon us arriving back with the leadership of the branch, we then realized that we need more women activation in campus than ever before. So we've tried to really conscientize the number of strong women cadres that we have right now.
Sure.
So that they can be strong enough to attract others to lead. Because the EFF does have women in the organization. We just do not have women who are capable to lead and who are raising their hands saying, I want to lead. So that is the culture that we are trying to build. So that culture, gradually, if we take the females that are here now, which are very young, and we train them, we conscientize them, they become capable politically, engagement, radical. We give them the power. And then it will attract even those ones to work on the same thing, be capable enough so that they could also showcase themselves that they can lead. So that is what we have done. We have put close a group of women close to our politics so that they could understand what happens in campus politics, the dynamics, so that they could understand the engagement on the boardroom. We've taken them to the boardroom. We've discussed with them critical politics because I believe that another way of conscientizing someone is when they are with you in the space and analyzing everything that is being done. So for that we have done, and we actually this year we have more women raising their hand than men. We have more women raising their hands than men, and women that are willing to challenge men on strategic positions going to the PSA. So it's very good for us. It's a good feel. We hope that we are going to continue with this, and we urge the women in the student command of Rankwa campus to not just sit in their comfort zones. We want to tell them that they are more than that, and that this is not a place for us to conquer them. It's not a bedroom. They must come and they must conquer and they must lead and they must show capacity as much as we do.
I'm pretty sure Guti, looking forward at your experiences on which positions you've occupied. I'm sure you'd share some few or less information on what you have before them occupying those positions. Otherwise, they will enter there and become illiterate. So I want to ask again about LGBTQ+, because in my own preservations, there are LGBTQ+ people on campus. How do you accommodate them?
LGBTQ+ for us is a very vital issue because the EFF stands firmly with supporting the LGBTQI group. So we are very friendly with them. In fact, we even allowed them to lead our organization, and we even put them in strategic positions to lead. We are working with them. They are our people. In fact, we no longer even see them as the group of LGBTQI. They are just our brothers and sisters that we are always looking to work with them and protect them in the revolution. So there is no disclaimer in the EFF that we do not accept LGBTQI group. In fact, we are more than interested in actually having more of them so we can find out what are some of the things that they face that we can try to neutralize as one of the biggest organizations of the institution.
In less than a month, we're going to SRC elections. Do you think maybe the EFFC will come back stronger, or for second term, for other campuses, or here in Garangowa, you take over?
I'm not going to speak about other campuses because also I don't know the dynamics there. But when it comes to this campus, I'm very much confident. I mean, we have a group of young people that understand the logic behind the EFF. We have a group of young people that are hungry to work. We have a group of young people that are not even ambitious, thinking about the SRC, but they are just naturally agitated by the stance of political state of the country. And they did show us that by being formidably active in the campaign of general and provincial elections. That then showed us that we have young people who are willing to fight for black issues and get nothing in return. We have young people who are not afraid of anyone. We have young people who will never be corrupt. We have young leaders that are ready to tackle any issue without fear or favor or prejudice. And when you talk about the populace of Ga-Rankuwa campus, I think it's a populace that is very familiar with the work and the activities of the EFF. The EFF has always been there for students in Ga-Rankuwa campus. We are the only organization that can formidably stand against anything for students. We have proven it for such a long time. Even the sense of the students, it shows us, because on a daily basis, we receive student issues from the EFF that student would like us to directly deal with them when there's an SRC in the campus. And we do not shy away from fighting for those issues just because we are not presiding, we are not governing the SRC. Even when we are not presiding, we still go out and fight for general issues of students. So it goes to show the character of the EFF. This year on SRC elections, we want the student to not undermine their capacity, to not vote because of a certain boyfriend or because of a t-shirt, because we understand what, I feel like now that there's a GNU and the turning point of the 2024 general elections must have showed emphasis to young people that voting is a very vital issue, that a vote counts. So we want them to vote on their capacity and not on their stomach or on their eyes. We want them to vote for an organization that will have character to protect them in any issues that they have. I want students of Ga-Rankuwa campus to think about all the issues that they faced this year. I want them to think about being defunded, the delay of allowances, not having tutorials, but you have to write academic assessments and the exams, but you are supposed to have tutorials, there's no tutorials. All of those issues, the infrastructure of the campus, the states of the campus residences, very bogus. It's not appealing to students, but there's an SRC that is standing there that is not doing anything. In fact, it is the opposition of the SRC, which is the EFF Student Command, that actually tries to go and close in the gap of those student issues. So this year, when students make a decision, we want them to make a decision upon their own capacity. Think about the character of the organization. When you talk about character, it is something that you cannot take away from the organization. There's a sense of character that we know about SASP that corrupts. That's the character we know. A character of the EFF, everyone will tell you, fight. That is the character of the EFF. We fight. In fact, we never back down before we fight any issue. So imagine all of those issues that we had this year. If we had an EFF Student Command president, if we had a Nyamazana presiding over a campus, a revolutionary leader, someone who doesn't even care about the privileges of the SRC, driving around with the car, going out on trips, someone that nurtures directly the issues of students, then things would be highly different from what it is. So the student put themselves in situations like this because of they failed to value their capacity, and they do not vote according to their capacity, their intellectuality, to what they think, to analyze.
But you have a President General presiding over.
Yes, we do have a President General presiding over.
So don't you think maybe those issues can be tackled through him?
Yes, obviously there's issues that can be tackled through the ISRC. I stand on the phenomena that the ISRC as the structure has become null and void. in student politics, because we are talking about a structure that has 7 people that have no constituents, because all of these 6 campuses has SRCs, there's presidents, there's secretaries that are taking care of all of these 6 campuses. What is now the main reason why we have an ISRC top 7? Right now, I feel like as it transitions, it just becomes as a sector in student politics that has access to money of the institution. And that's why they are there. But what do they really exist for? What issues do they really tackle that cannot be tackled on campus? I stand on the phenomena of saying, why don't we as the institution cancel this structure of the ISRC? We have presidents and secretaries in campuses. Why don't we now combine these presidents and secretaries in campuses, and then when they are together, they form a committee of ISRC, so that we balance issues from the ground and to the governance? Because now we have an issue of an SRC that is sitting here, but an ISRC that is the decision making there, that has no constituents. That how do they know what are students suffering for? Because they are never on the ground. When was the last time you saw an ISRC member going to the ground and attending issues of students? Because that's what leading is about. It doesn't mean that when you are ISRC, the revolutionary in you must be taken away. You must still do the same things that you believe in. In fact, as the ISRC, you must do more than all of us, because we sent you to represent the voice of the voiceless, the students. And then that's my phenomena, by the way, to say that as long as we have this structure of the ISRC, there's always going to be limited issues.
Mafia Fane, the Council of Nkomas, once said, let's remove these things of blazers and let the SRC members of the EFF-SC wear the overalls. Are you against, or are you with that?
We are very much with it. In fact, the SRC deployees in the campus would know that I'm against the suits. Even from before Mafia Fane even said it, because it's a phenomenon that was also highlighted on the Provincial Student Assembly, the previous one, to say that sometimes SRC deployees get the feel that they are management. And them wearing that blazer simply doesn't make it any better. Because even to normal students, they must be appealing to them. So it's very formidable for SRC members, presidents, secretaries of the EFF to wear regalia of the EFF so that they can be approachable to normal students. There's no reason why we should boast about wearing suits of management. It's like you are taking a job for management. It's like now a job. You are being an ambassador of the institution. That's what they are right now. They are subjected to being ambassadors of the institution. They advertise the name of the institution. They even tell them that they can't wear regalia, the SRC of this campus. I came back to my SRC and I said, show me that clause in the constitution that says an SRC member cannot wear regalia. There's no way. And it is because that's what the management wants. It wants them to be ambassadors. They have forgotten the main reason why there's a student representative council. That's why I'm telling you, there's students right now, some maybe even doing second year, that do not know the real reason why there's an SRC in campus, because of the type of people that are put there, the type of organizations that deploy there. So we need a strategic change in the way of thinking of cadres.
So questions before we can chop it up. We can speak the whole day. Yeah. So what is the word of advice that you can give to the next chairperson of the branch or to the other deployees for this current year?
The word of advice that I will give to the branch leadership as a whole and the deployees that are going to enter is that the revolution cannot be tamed. The revolution must always continue. And no one must infiltrate the revolution. When you are the chairperson, sitting chairperson of the branch, you must understand that that branch runs on your leadership, and you must never allow infiltration from even senior leaders because they do not understand the issues of your constituents. Once young leaders allow older leaders to infiltrate their political terms, that's where it starts backfiring, because you find yourself fighting for issues of someone that was chairman in 2013. But because you are chairman now, he wants you to fight those issues for them. So you've ought to understand that this runs on your own political capacity with your fellow branch leadership. You do not allow infiltration from senior leaders. You serve only your constituents. There is no money in student politics. It's an illusion that is given by people who came in the revolution to become agents. People who come in the revolution thinking about themselves. That is why you even finding people asking you, what has the organization done for me? It just shows the very bogus mindset that someone or some people have towards the organization. There's no money in student politics. In fact, when you are in a position of leading and you are in student politics, your pockets will be hugely harmed. Your pockets will be hugely harmed. So that's one of the aspects that the younger generation needs to understand, because when we go out and we have conversation, it has become a norm, this thing of familiarizing student politics with corruption. You find even cadres patting themselves in the back saying, you eat, you eat from that service provider, you are very progressive. So it's the mindset that the young leaders, the incoming leaders must shy away from, because at the end of the day, there's no money in student politics. And the only way you are going to make money in student politics is when you are selling out the students. That's the only way, because systematically, what you would do, you would have formidable relationships with certain people in management because you are leading the branch. And then because you are leading the branch, maybe you start having that relationship with a certain person from management. What happens is one day you run out of money and then you call them, how's it, of course, please man, something. You take that mere 500. Tomorrow, students have any issue. In the same department that the person you benefited from is working. In fact, he's the HOD of that department. You will fail to fight for students because you took a mere 500 and drank it. You cannot sell students out because of mere money. That is the money that these agents are talking about when they say there's money in student politics. There's no money. The only money is the one that you can go around begging from employees of the institution so that they give you, and then for some reason you feel entitled. Unless if you are talking about the corrupt SRC going to receive money from certain residences and then they fail to fight. That's what I'm saying, Guti. When you are looking for money, you will never fight. It means this is not your space. This is not your space. You must never benefit from your opponent because you will fail to fight them.
So the question that we always ask in the show is the last one, of which is, what would you say to a person at your age and younger than you?
What I would say to my person at my age and younger than me right now is that we need Black people focused than ever before. We need young Black people graduating and getting qualifications. We need young Black people thinking out of the box, starting their own business, even from a very young age. Because economic liberation is not employment, but economic liberation is entrepreneurship, being able to create employment for others. So we need young Black people. I feel like that is something that I wish I was also told from a young age, to say that start your own business from a young age, be politically conscious, run your business, so that even, you know what is good, even when you get to a position of maybe you are interested in politics and now you need to lead, the sense that you acknowledge that economic liberation comes from yourself. It doesn't come from the organization. You must work for your own economic liberation. if economic liberation for you is a very good paying job, study, graduate, get good marks and apply, you'll get that job. But if economic liberation for you is entrepreneurship, start your business now. Grow with that business. It will start making money so that even when you get to positions of leading, you do not think about money, but you think about issues, because already the economic liberation, you already dealt with it. I mean, you cannot be a leader that is not aware of their own economic liberation. So I'd like to say that to people, especially young black people, let's start going out there and making our name ahead in the economy. Let's start opening businesses that will challenge the biggest companies in South Africa that are owned by white establishments. Let's start studying for courses where there's limited black people that are studying them. Let's start infiltrating this economy because it's ours. When we sit back and watch, we let the establishment win. So let us go out, get educated, be politically conscious, start our own business, have a mind of economic liberation, and love one another.
No, thank you so much, Mongezi. It means a lot. Your presence has been honored.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, I'm also honored to sit with the master. To sit with the master.
Thank you, man.
Well, Live Season CV, my name is Lee. For what it is in always be. This is Mongezi here with me and the Deputy President General of Harangoa Campus. Well, I still remain calm and collective. My name is Lee. What it is in always be Live Seasons. Hey, my brad.
Guys today, I can't imagine my price today. Niggas been thinking for eyes today. Never been thinking about price today. Life seasonally, I cannot think about scrutiny. I make my flame on my business. I'm a brand of my business. Life seasonally, I cannot think about scrutiny. I make my flame on my business. I'm a brand of my business. I don't smoke.